Siona, good afternoon, hello all, good afternoon, Wado, thank you for watching. I'm like discombobulated from that, but I pressed the wrong thing. I had a phone call coming through and I was like, no, not right now, I'm almost done with my second one. So I guess the plus side is that this is going to help us get through this book, Shasta, right? Anyway, let's get back to the nasty stuff. Let's see here. Okay, a drug before I perform, and there are cameras everywhere. They are always watching. My mind has been erased and wiped. Sometimes they would come in and shoot me full of drugs, not sure what they put in me, but it makes me very tired and I get headaches. They would give me water with food and a red pill that looks like candy that I have to take. Sometimes I pretend I take the pill, but they check my blood to see if I'm taking the pill. If I am lying, I get punished. Then they will throw me with the animals and I have to do sexual things with the animals. God, that's end quotes. Remote viewer saw this, in quotes. I see you being taken around the age of 8 from your home. Once a week, you are brought to a facility with other kids at the same age who were also being groomed as super soldiers. They would attach electrodes to your testicles, and in an S&M styled ritual, they would electroshock you to associate pleasure with playing. Oh my God. They wanted to keep you dissociated so that you would associate killing and murdering people as something that feels good and normal to do. Oh my God. I get a sense this went on for many years, end quote. Apparently my handlers wanted to make sure we super soldiers do not feel any love towards anyone, with the exception of those in our same unit. If I was able to find someone who loved me unconditionally in a non-judgmental way, it would cause the programming to fall apart, So to keep me from having sex, they designed my DNA with some kind of neurochemical signaling defect, which contains a genetic mutation causing my erections and orgasms to signal the wrong type of nerve endings. So instead of an erection/orgasm signaling the brain for a pleasure response, it signals a pain response. David Lotherington, Lotherington, looked into more of the tech they put. It says they put me, which causes me horrible pain if I have an orgasm. In quotes, I see an etheric implant in your penis. It looks like a corkscrew that went up your shaft to cause pain and stop you from reproducing. At bottom, there was a mushroom cap that contains a sphere inside your root chakra. This is a type of quantum field manager which regulates vibrational frequency. Inside the sphere is a yellow triangle, which is an interdimensional portal which connects me to the implants in my clone proxy. They are using traumatized clone bodies to cause physical pain here. I see the crocodile-snouted reptilian umbrella doctor in a white lab coat sitting on his tail. He is putting this into you, which inhibits you from having sex. There was a parallel timeline in which you had all these alien hybrid children, so they wanted to stop that. They think you are their property and only they can decide how you procreate with who you, no, it says how you procreate with. It's probably supposed to say who. And right now it's only through clones. As you get older, your sex drive has diminished somewhat, so now they are not as concerned. And it says crocodile-snouted reptilians are very cunning and intelligent, are often found working along the mater at Umbrella Labs on Mars. And then below that it says Kruger Cloning Lab. So there's the crocodile person, and then these are the areas where they have the clones. And I guess they create them in there, I don't know. There's a clone thing on just about any sci-fi thing. I mean, even in Eureka, the TV show Eureka, there was a clone episode. Kruger base near New Warburg, Mars. Excuse me. And in that clone episode on Eureka, their feelings were different and stuff. So that's how they could tell. And then their memories weren't there also. I mean, they were, but they weren't, if you understand what I'm saying. Like, not on a human level there, you know. Anyway, aliens working alongside human personnel in the underground facilities seem to be a reoccurring theme. Apparently, there are many species of ET involved with this operation, including Greys, Nordics, Reptilians, Syrians, Dracos. Each master will control a MyLab for a short period of time for different types of training before handing them over to another handler. Some MyLabs recall seeing their masters carrying around a laser-like oval baton made out of amethyst, crystal, gold, and precious metals, which they use for mind control purposes. Oh my gosh. And that's another thing. They make you think that all of these things, crystals, metals, whatever, right? That if you think that they have some sort of ability or something, then you're a crazy town banana pants, right? Oh my gosh. Anyway, even though my labs are controlled by the covert government, aliens participate for their own agendas. Perhaps they view us, excuse me, as a threat to them and want to make sure we don't break ranks. We are often bartered out among different factions of aliens because they are at war with each other and the government. So they think by participating, they can gain info and secretly sabotage the covert government in the process. The following remote viewing session was done by my friend to help me understand what happens in these MyLab abductions. I am not quite sure if this is totally accurate because the robotic greys are usually tasked with the boring, busy work of injecting people. In quotes, April 10th, 2012, I woke up with needle marks in my lip and cut marks on my arm. I asked my friend if she could pick up anything psychically on what happened. She saw me sleeping on a white couch in the living room, which is true. I slept on the couch that previous night because I was having trouble sleeping. On nights they get me, I'm usually able to sense what's about to happen and have trouble getting any rest. She sees a woman with a black ponytail and a clipboard injecting me and a man nearby monitoring the situation. There also appears to be a cloaked alien entity as well, but she couldn't see what was on the clipboard, so she agreed to let me put her under hypnotic regression to gather more information. She begins by seeing me sleeping in the living room. These people have apparently teleported into my home, and the lady with the ponytail shines a white flashing light into my eyes. It puts me into a trance. I don't hear and see what is going on. I stay in a dreamlike state. I was like a robot, end quote. When she describes this, I can see the blinking light in my mind. It makes me feel distant and far away. Quotes. This woman is a handler of some sorts. She doesn't mean me any harm. She's just doing her job. She's living a double life and doesn't realize it. Her job is to monitor my labs. Her civilian name is Janine, Jeanine, Lorraine, Loraine, Waters. She is an attorney in New York and she has 2 kids. She was wearing a necklace with a pendant which had an upside down triangle with a cross in the middle. She was very young looking, early 30s, end quote. Another MyLab survivor tells me she knows that woman. She looks like the actress Jane Seymour, Seymour, is middle-aged, wears glasses, business suits, and always seems to have a clipboard when she visits other MyLabs. She is the head of the Monarch program and refers to us as pets. She lives a human civilian life but can shapeshift into a Queen Draco, especially when angry, and while in that state, she is an extremely wicked person. She seems to be really upset with the use of us MyLabs. We are getting our memories back and destroying them. The reason they made us was to save them from another race, and now they are losing control over us, in quotes. On her clipboard was my name in black bold letters. Next to it was my date of birth, but it was blocked. She is not sure why this is the case. Perhaps my birthday is not my birthday. Maybe this means I was de-aged and inserted into my family. She also sees a drawing of my body with arrows pointing to all sorts of locations. In this image, the arrows are pointing to my left arm. The drug they were giving me was called telemediate, and he's not sure of the spelling, so in parentheses he put spelling. It's Telemediate, and it looks like a liquid green goo and requires a doctor's prescription. What? Not sure if it was classified. What kind of doc, you know what I mean? Ugh, jeez. It appears these injections are meant to mutate my DNA, but I wonder if the people like writing those scripts and doing all those other things, if they aren't aware either, like if they are being controlled as well, and like leading double lives and stuff. It appears these injections are meant to mutate my DNA, but for some reason they are not taking hold and making me sick. Over several months I was suffering from severe flu-like symptoms. This drug was supposed to help correct the imbalance. She also took a sample of my DNA from my lip. At the bottom of the paper were the numbers 40231, not sure what this code stood for. There was also a man standing next to Janine. but he seemed to be very negative and was under some disguise. His name is General Patrick Gillian, Gillian. When my friend looked closer, this man had slits for eyes and seemed to be controlled by a hidden dark being behind him who showed up when we started poking around. This creature looked very reptilian and was malevolent. I was then teleported to an underground facility. She couldn't get a name of the facility, but it seemed to be operated by another base known as Del Monte Square. In this facility, she saw where they took the DNA sample from my lip. It was a large room that was very cold. Along the wall were 500 cryogenic tubes lined up with clones inside. Each tube was stacked on top of each other and contained a frozen body. The compressor read -30 below, probably in Celsius. The tubes were mostly covered, but each unit contained a small window, and when she looked inside, she saw clones of me. After looking into about 8 to 10 tubes with my body in them, she freaked out and didn't want to look at any more tubes. She couldn't tell how many clones they had of me in there, but it's possible every tube had one. Each tube was labeled with the letters ML and a series of numbers such as 401 or 402. In parentheses, the ML probably read as MLC or multiple level clones. They can basically operate in many atmospheres or lack of and or densities without environmental containment technology. I wonder if that's where they get cryogenesis from. But anyway, she then saw where my body was taken. For the next 3 hours, I laid unconscious on a table. I was naked but covered up with a white sheet. Not sure what they were doing to me, but at that point, my friend became very fatigued and decided she'd seen enough, end quotes. So now you have an idea of what happens on a typical abduction. But if they want to activate me and use me for a mission, they will first need to place me in a trip chair to begin programming me. I don't remember what goes on at this stage, but according to another clairvoyant, in quotes, says, I see you sitting in a black chair that had a shiny plastic look to it. There are green high-intensity light beams coming from the ceiling and flickering over your head. At this point, and that's end quote, at this point they could activate me. Once I am activated, I can go into golden form, which is a state of higher vibration frequency, allowing me to naturally shapeshift and project my consciousness into avatars. When this occurs, my consciousness, but not my soul, animates a cloned avatar of their choice. Whoa. Again, they can't totally control my soul. All they can do is take pieces of my thought patterns and insert them into other bodies. In order to attach to the avatar, it needs to contain some of my own DNA. Anybody else thinking about the Avatar movies? Anyway, for Earth missions, they usually put me into human-looking avatars, but they can also make reptilian avatars and other beings as well. Some super soldiers can drive 20 of these avatars, one for each stage of our lives. They are stored underwater in tubes lined up a long corridor about 1,000 to 2,000 feet long. It's so huge that it takes a long time to turn all the lights on. Whoa. Remote viewing these avatars, we see them being called Sibeus, S-I-B-E-U-S, and Arbius, A-R-B-E-U-S. Sibeus might be based on the word Swebaz, S-W-E-B-A-S, and that is from the Proto-Germanic root, S-W-E, meaning one's own people. Arbius probably stands for aerial reconnaissance between unmanned souls, though in a slang dictionary, Arbus, A-R-B-U-S, means, butt raped by Uncle Sam, which is probably a more fitting definition. It says, I've been told most of my clones created by the covert government, have been eliminated due to going rogue. However, a few of them remain off-world. It is these avatars which contain metal bones, levitate, shapeshift, or fly exotic craft for the Air Force. And I gotta end it at that. Don't go hang, tell me again, love you, mean it.